I think there's a lot of people currently, and especially through this year during the pandemic, that they have been rethinking what they're doing and what they're working on, and what are they investing their time on. I mean, we spend now, all of us who are working from home, and then you're like hours and hours in front of a computer, and you realize how much of a toll, if you hadn't realized before, where are you actually investing your hour and like third or half of your life at. And I think, or at least this is personal feeling that I had also with friends, that there's a lot of people thinking maybe there's a different way which I can do things, or maybe it's time that I start something on my own and that I create something positive.
Hi everyone, welcome to Digital Shift, where we discuss topics that will affect business, society and culture, as we want you to be better prepared for the future. If you see the shift coming, you can adjust to it. We've seen attitudes and mindsets changing regarding what the business is for. An often heard narrative is that the business is just for maximizing shareholder value. Now new companies are emerging with a business model built around a purpose. Hi Ali, welcome to Digital Shift. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing?
Sure. Hi everyone, and thanks for having me here. My name is Alessandra Rojas, and I work at EPFL. I'm a Sustainable Entrepreneurship Manager, specifically at EPFL Tech for Impact, which is our initiative to promote technology and research for sustainable development. So EPFL is quite a big university, one of the most important universities in Switzerland, and specializing in science and technology. It's a key player in the ecosystem. And here we have Tech for Impact. We are the university's platform and initiative, and really around the question of how can we build bridges between science and technology for sustainable development. So what does this mean? Basically, we work with an array of stakeholders, from students, researchers, professors, on campus, but also external. So we bring NGOs, some other partners, accelerators, whatever, and we get together all around this question of how we can push actual solutions into the world that bring change and develop, like positive developments.
How difficult is it for a student, or how difficult is it in general to start a company that's sustainable, or that has sustainability in its core?
I mean, as with anything in entrepreneurship and business related, it is hard. It's never, I would say it's never easy. The spin at sustainable business models is that you put the value that you are creating at the center of everything, and it has to be a value that is not, let's say, very fast depleted, as in the case of more, let's say, extractive driven or more normal driven business models. Here you really want to make sure that you're creating something positive, and that your negative impact is somehow reduced, or ideally non-existent, or like, let's say, handled in a different way than a traditional business model. For students, it's hard, of course, but I mean, we don't regard, especially now at Tech for Impact, we don't regard the journey of creating a business in general, a business model, much different or much less or more work than creating a sustainable business model. Actually, we want to, and one of the things that we do is how to mainstream sustainability in what it means the core of entrepreneurship at EPFL. And we see it in our students. They are now super motivated. The new generation of students, they want businesses that have sustainability as a core component of the solution, of the value that they're creating towards customers. They do not see sustainability necessarily as a CSR activity and something that you create your company and you create your business, and then maybe on the side you do some sustainability-led activities. We have a program right now with students called the Change Makers, for example. I'm from the entire cohort. More than half of them are like already came with the mindset, I want to create something that has a positive value for society or for the ecosystem. I want that my business kind of goes around generating positive impact, and how can I do that, and how can, of course, I can make money or create a company around it. But like the understanding of what sustainability means and how you create sustainable business model is really much it has grown so much, and it's not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily review and think, oh, it's harder, it's easier. It's just that it is different. It's a new way of doing things. And of course it comes with a bunch of challenges. You are, maybe indeed it is to a certain extent a bit harder, in the sense that you have more variables and more than one, how to say this, you cannot consider only the own profit from the own business, but how can you also consider the positive effects and also the negative effects you're creating through your company. So it's not about, I'm doing my business and I'm doing my company and I don't care about anyone else, and whatever negative spillover effects I might have, it doesn't matter. Sustainable business models don't do that. They have to think about the ecosystem. You have to think about, okay, what are these negative side effects that I might be creating with my solution? So you have to think of an entire, the entirety of things, and not just one-sided. So with all of this taken into consideration, to a certain extent, it's harder, I guess, but it's just that we're so used to it that for us, it's, we don't sell it like this. But yeah, for students, the hard part is, as with everything, is, starting. How do I start? How do I implement my ideas? What to do? But these are questions that come even if they wouldn't be thinking about sustainability. These are questions related to how you become an entrepreneur and how you create a business. So we try to help them on that, and then on top we bring them content on theory of change, impact assessment, and connect them to partners that might be giving them the right directions also.
When we speak with younger people, I think they have quite a different attitude what a company is for. So the old attitude is companies just making money and nothing else. So what attitudes are you seeing? What are they thinking a company is for?
So young people do see, and I mean, I include myself in these young people because I still consider myself as a young person. Companies have more responsibility than just creating products for consumers that maybe are not even needed. You cannot regard companies, and this is something that our young students also tell you, you cannot see them as outside of the entire society ecosystem. They are a huge player in what makes a society. Companies are also made of people. They're just not, separate entities, and the products and services they are creating affects us all. Therefore, when we talk about, and I think the premise before of CSR was exactly the responsibility that companies have. Nowadays, we're really shifting into, actually, it's not only that you get to do something and then you do maybe another service to kind of pair up your kind of negative effects with some positive benefits, but actually rethink entirely how you're doing things and why you're doing things. Like, how is the value that you're giving to users and consumers created? What exactly is this value that you're even given? And we see this in the students because they really are thinking in, what do I want to do? So, for example, in this program that we have, they're thinking, okay, I could make, just giving a random example, like an app or a platform to provide this type of service. But they're thinking of, okay, but what is the value of providing this service? Like, who am I actually helping, and what are the effects that I'm creating through the service that I'm even offering? So you see the role of a company or startup in, like, exactly rethinking, okay, what am I even doing and what am I providing, and in which way this affects everyone around me and the ecosystem, considering even just the startup ecosystem or the business ecosystem.
Another maybe difficult subject is also that how easy is it for such a company to raise money? Because they are slightly different than a usual company might in their outlook.
Yes, definitely. It's becoming more and more common, I would say. This is the thing, right? When we talk about sustainable business, they have a different purpose and a different way of doing things, and they're measuring their impact and they're trying to create positive benefits, but they are also having, let's not forget, they're having a business model. So there's a business model behind it. You are thinking about how monetize it to a certain extent and produce economic value also in it. So this is something that we can forget. So they can still make like quite interesting cases for investors. To give you some examples, I mean, at EPFL, just in the last 6 months, a couple of months, we've had different from our impact startups or sustainable startups at EPFL, closing rounds. Can think of right now is the last one. I think it was the poly, which is depolymerizing PET plastic to the very kind of like raw materials, so that even produce PET plastic on the first place. So they're really doing into like the circular economy type of thinking, and they just closed a pre-seed, I think, of like 1.3 million or something like this. Then we have like another, like Medusol also closed about like a 2 million seed round, I think the end of last year, and just a bit before. We also had Bloom Biorenewables, which is also one of the emblematic EPFL startups, and that one, I think they had the round around August or September, and also 2.9 million. So there's more and more money, and in Switzerland there's more and more investors really looking into this type of ventures. Of course, now you also have, from the financing side, you have, like, let's say, the traditional investors who are looking more and more into impact, but you also have now impact investors, and there's more and more impact investors all around Europe, and in Switzerland they also exist. And the difference with impact investors is that impact investors are looking exactly at how you're creating impact. So they will ask you to do an impact assessment, and they will ask you what are your impact KPIs, and they're actually going to go and see if the company and the founders are really impact driven, or if they're just saying like, oh, we're sustainable, but it's not really the case. So there's more and more money, there's more and more investors interested here, but also investors that are also dedicated to this type of startups, who know that the founders of the startup do not want to or won't necessarily compromise just for something that is cheaper when it's not going when it's going against their principles and against the purpose of creating positive value.
So do you think that the environment is changing, that it's more that it's easier than before to raise money if you want to start a company with an impact?
Yeah, I think definitely there's much more opportunities. I mean, just last year we were, unfortunately we had to cancel because of the entire COVID situation, but we were actually hosting our first Impact Investor Day at EPFL. It was planned for the end of the year. And we had several investors, both impact investors as well as some traditional, more corporate investors, being interested in coming to that day and seeing EPFL startups that were working in the impact environment, because they are aware, I mean, the society entirely is making a much larger push towards sustainable business models. Customers want to see, more transparency in the businesses, and therefore it kind of pushes us also from the financing side to go and finance it more. Of course, I'm not saying that it is perfect and it's as strong as, say, non-impact driven financing environment. However, it's improving, and we can see the growth. We see also, I mean, not only from the finance side, we see it from the amount of partners of the ecosystem that are involved. I mean, we at Tech for Impact, as I said, we work with a diverse array of partners, and we see, the number of incubators or of accelerators of, business courses targeted towards sustainability, the amount of events that now we get invited to that are working towards that. There's so much more. And I mean, look at Switzerland. I think last year was a year in which a lot of the partners, we collaborated on a lot of levels, even us. There was more crossover with the German-speaking area. We were doing projects together, and really the topic of sustainability and how can we push this agenda further. Last year and this year, circular economy ventures very much on the forefront. You see even partners like Kickstart, which comes from like also the Zurich area, now starting their operations here in the Romandie and bringing the topic of circular economy even more to the forefront. So there's so much more activity and so much more happening, and we're really everyone trying to build this entire ecosystem from the ground to support all these type of startups that are coming.
Is there a question that we should have asked you, but we forgot to ask?
I mean, I cannot think of a question because probably there are tons of them, and I do not consider myself as a super expert on everything. But maybe just some enlightening or like some motivational words that I think there's a lot of people currently, and especially through this year during the pandemic, that they have been rethinking what they're doing and what they're working on, and what are they investing their time on. I mean, we spend now, all of us who are working from home, and then you're like hours and hours in front of a computer, and you realize how much of a toll, if you hadn't realized before, where are you actually investing your hour and like third or half of your life at. And I think, or at least this is personal feeling that I had also with friends, that there's a lot of people thinking maybe there's a different way which I can do things, or maybe it's time that I start something on my own and that I create something positive. And I mean, just encouraged to go and try it. We've seen a lot of positive experiences last year. Even during COVID, we created this the versus virus experience, which actually a lot of colleagues from Zurich were also involved, and we as TechFriendpa were also part of it. We had the versus virus online virtual incubator, and there's a bunch of startups there that just started last year out of a hackathon, and they pushed through the entire year trying to create sustainable business, or business with like a cause behind it. And it's just like, you just need to go, don't have just idea, but just also dare to try, and dare to just start executing. An idea without execution is nothing, as we always say. So don't be afraid of all the challenges that sustainable businesses bring, but on the contrary, especially motivated, because it's a super exciting journey. So that's it.
Thank you very much. You are a really sweet person, and thank you for this inspiring time with you. Thank you for watching this interview. If you liked it, hit the like and subscribe button. This will help spread the word. You can find more interviews and events on our website. If you're looking for experts in product development, design, digital marketing, or programming, let us know so we can connect you to our community. You can find more info on our website.